You, George Foreman, all of you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop him. All of you. I know you got him. I know you got him picked, but the man's in trouble. I'm gonna show you how great I am.
At the height of his career,
I am the greatest.
a fighter in his prime,
I'm the greatest thing that ever lived.
a world heavyweight champion, undefeated in the ring,
I must be the greatest.
and unrivaled as an American icon.
Well, you know that's impossible. No, keep it close. You know that's impossible. I'm the greatest.
Muhammad Ali faced a disconnect between what the people wanted him to be and who he felt he truly was.
Cassius Marcellus Clay VI, and my great-great-grandfather was a Kentucky slave, and he was named after some great.
His own man.
What angle? Why don't you call me my name, man?
Well, what's your name? You told me your name was Cassius Clay a few years
I
ago.
told you my name was Cassius Clay. My name is Muhammad Ali.
A man unburdened by race or an oppressing history. Without fear, Muhammad Ali put everything on the line to stand by his beliefs and to stand up to the injustices against his race by refusing to be inducted into the draft for the Vietnam War, putting his boxing career on the line, and sacrificing the best years of his life for a fight for equality, therefore forcing a compromise that would leave behind a legacy that would not only transcend the ring, but also the sphere of politics and the civil rights movement, changing American culture forever. Muhammad Ali was born Cassius Clay Jr. on the 17th of June 1945 in Louisville, Kentucky. Ali took up boxing at an early age and soon made his way through the ranks as an amateur boxer. Ali was quickly thrust into the spotlight as he earned the opportunity to compete in the 1960 Olympics in Rome. He would go on to win gold, becoming an American hero and a boxer ready to begin his professional career. In a major upset in 1964, Ali would go on to become the youngest world heavyweight champion at just 22 years old. One could only imagine the dizzying heights to which Ali would climb in his career. However, it was soon after the fight that Ali made a decision that would forever change the course of his life. He announced his membership with the Nation of Islam, changing his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali.
Cassius is not my name no more.
Officially Muhammad Ali now.
Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali. That's my name.
At the time of Ali's decision to join the group, the Nation of Islam was extremely unpopular with the American public. In joining the group, Muhammad Ali was not altering his beliefs in any way, but rather taking a public stance behind them. Following his decision to join the Nation of Islam, Ali was quickly stripped of one of his 2 world heavyweight titles by the WBA Boxing Commission.
This fella they call Clay or Muhammad Ali, whatever he wants to call himself, is a disgrace to the nation.
This would prove to be just a soft punch to the nose in the scheme of what would come next for Ali. Over 8,000 miles away, on the other side of the world, loomed another colossal opponent, the Vietnam War. For most, fighting for their own country was one of the highest honors that a man could partake in. It would only be later, at the fall of Saigon, that public sentiment would undergo a pivotal shift. To avoid the draft, and thus to avoid being cannon fodder in a white man's war, as the Nation of Islam would describe it in its preachings, Muhammad Ali would attempt to become recognized as a conscientious objector. The Department of Defense defines conscientious objection as a firm, fixed, and sincere objection to participation in war in any form or the bearing of arms, by reason of religious training and or belief. However, Ali's status as a conscientious objector would not be granted. On April 28, 1967, Ali, then 25 years old, appeared in Houston for his scheduled induction in the U.S. military. He repeatedly refused to step forward when his name was called, despite being warned by an officer that he was committing a felony offense. Ali would not budge.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Muhammad Ali has just refused to be inducted into the United States Armed Forces.
It was not before soon that Ali was indicted by a federal grand jury on the 8th of May, and soon convicted. The trial jury was composed of 6 men and 6 women, all of whom were white. Instead of being called the greatest, Ali was now being dubbed a draft dodger and a coward, as his previous popularity turned into animosity. Ali's public messages only added fuel to the fire.
Well, I'm going to shoot them for what? How am I going to shoot them? Them little poor little black people, little babies and children and women. How can I shoot them poor people? Just take me to jail.
I'm not going to help nobody get something my Negroes don't have. If I'm going to die, I'll die now, right here fighting you. If I'm going to die, you my enemy. My enemy is the white people, not Viet Congs or Chinese or Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
Had Ali accepted his induction into the draft, the likelihood of him facing real combat was non-existent. Instead, he'd most likely have been assigned to the Army's Special Services Division. For celebrities always provided more use to the Army through their role in public relations and not on the battlefield. An example of this is rock star Elvis Presley being sent to tour Germany and to raise morale with troops. Ali's experience in the Army would have been far similar. It was therefore that Ali was not avoiding the draft for a fear of battle, but rather solely for his beliefs. In spite of his intentions, the New York State Athletic Commission suspended Muhammad Ali's boxing license and immediately stripped him of his remaining title. Ali's decision would not only cost him his popularity, but also millions of dollars and most tragically his prime as a boxer. Instead of boxing, Ali found a new use for his skills as an orator as he began speaking at and touring American colleges. Many found his views aligned with theirs as anti-war sentiment slowly grew as the Vietnam War slugged on at the cost of thousands of American lives. Aside from anti-war rhetoric, Ali's speeches were rife with speech advocating African American pride and racial justice. Because America treated its black people as second-class citizens, the champ said he'd stand his ground by refusing to serve in its army. On the 22nd of September 1969, Ali applied to the New York State Athletic Commission for the renewal of his expired license to box in New York. On October 14, 1969, the commission unanimously denied his application because his refusal to enter the service and felony conviction in violation of federal law is regarded by this commission to be detrimental to the best interest of boxing, or to the public interest, convenience, or necessity. However, the commission had often in the past and presently allowed felons to fight. The case was clear. Ali was being discriminated against. Ali took the battle to court. The court granted Ali's motion, and finally, after 3 long years, Ali would be able to enter the ring once more. However, the dark clouds above Ali's head still loomed large as his case went to the Supreme Court.
I said that I'm going to be a man, I'm going to fight it legally. If I lose it, I'm just going to jail.
Initially, the 8 Supreme Court justices who were overseeing the case voted 5-3 to uphold Ali's conviction. Ali was on the verge of going to prison, when all of a sudden Justice Harlan sided with Ali, becoming convinced of Ali's claim as a conscientious objector after learning of Ali's background and the black Muslim doctrine which he believed in. The vote was now tied at 4-4. A deadlock would have still resulted in Ali being jailed for draft evasion. A compromise proposed by Justice Stewart, in which Ali's conviction would be reversed, citing a technical error by the Justice Department, gradually won unanimous assent from the 8 voting justices. The decision of the Supreme Court to reverse the conviction, a compromise forced by Muhammad Ali, established that those bold enough to stand up for their beliefs could not only remain members of their society, but also be at the helm of it. It established that a black man could be a man of wealth, power, and influence without being taken down and subjugated once more.
Oh, I would have been just as happy if they had said go to jail for 5 years.
Are you serious?
Yes, sir. Because I'd be going for what I believed, which is the freedom, justice, and equality for 30 million black people. Going for those reasons, I wouldn't have felt bad at all. So I was ready for whatever came. Naturally, I'm glad to be vindicated, but I would have been just as happy if I had to go.
At the peak of his career, Muhammad Ali voluntarily put everything on the line to force a compromise that would go on to inspire countless of other Americans in the fight for equality, energizing the civil rights movement as a whole. It established that a black man, 3 generations removed from a slave, 2 generations removed from a murderer, and 1 generation removed from a painter, could live the American dream too.